from about 40 years in multicultural affairs here in the ACT, but the question I would like to ask is to Mike, and that is that since 1995 here in the ACT we've had some very strong top-down from our Chief Minister right through all our governments, both colours I might add, both Liberal and Labor, support for multiculturalism, support for the Islamic community. Up until recent times it's been gangbusters in this town, and I know Helen's done a lot of work in the with the legislative framework that protects against racism or what have you, but by and large the town's been quite good. Now, what we see in the tone and the rhetoric at the federal level for quite some time, since 1996, both sides I might add, and you've acknowledged that, Mike, but what you've said is that there's been some movement on the refugees at Nauru. You're doing some work with your Muslim colleagues. Where are we heading with this? I mean, are we going to get that strong leadership in this space, or is it going to be the media and the political class sucking off each other and giving us what we've got today, which is hit them hard and hit them low and full stop? When are we going to see the light, which is strong leadership at the top?
It's definitely a really important question at the moment. Even seeing, the Australian cricket team letting us down these days. This is something that a lot of colleagues on both sides are looking at the moment. I must say that I get on extremely well with quite a few colleagues across the aisle, and we formed a group. John Alexander is a very good friend of mine, member for Bennelong, and we formed a group called the Menzies Call Group, and so we have a table set up in the middle of the dining area where the MPs eat, where the two sides who are interested in dialogue come together and to celebrate, our ability to engage in civil discourse and try and improve the tone of the Parliament. So there is an extremely important leadership role for us to perform, and that's something that I take very seriously. If we're going to get that beyond the media blockage, from the Murdoch press or whatever, and get out there and get a different story, it's important for us to repeatedly, incessantly, and to persevere to the nth degree in telling different stories and encouraging. And one of the things that I try and do, Eden Monero, for example, the Anglo sort of view of our history is this phrase, go back to where you came from. Well, in Eden Monero, the very first non-Indigenous settlers in my region were actually Muslim Bengalis who were shipwrecked in 1797 and ended up intermarrying with our Indigenous community in the Bega area. They were the very first settlers in my region. So, anybody who's not Indigenous, frankly, should go back to where they came from under that rule. So that's something we have to be relentless about. And you mentioned the ACT. The ACT is a really good example of how good quality education helps combat this. It's really ignorance and fear that are the seedbeds for these evil or ill-informed attitudes. And so that constant battle must be waged in education, but in the example that we provide as leaders as well. So it's a battle that isn't over, that has to be constantly fought. We all thought that there'd be this inevitable trajectory of enlightenment and progression after World War II. Well, if you look at the United States and the last election and some of the things that have gone on here, it just continually reminds me that it's an every day, every hour battle, that progress must continually be fought for, and we all have a responsibility to do that, and not just sort of look at politicians. The village owns this mission, and we all have to have these discussions with our friends and with our colleagues every day to perfect this society.
Thanks very much, mate.